Dean and Andy, always a pleasure to have you guys on. Of course, we have got to begin our conversation today by sort of sending some well wishes to the Grand Rapids Griffins after losing in Game 3. Their season is now over. I mean, still a good season, I would say. I mean, let's focus on some positives beforehand. I mean, what did you guys really take away as a positive from this entire season? Maybe not so much the playoffs, but specifically maybe more so the regular season.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Griffins this year, the start they had obviously was very, very good. Was getting off the best start in franchise history, but I think you clearly could see what can happen to happen to these kind of teams at this level when players start to get taken away from them. It just was it got to the point where they never really were able to get an offensive flow, and they lost a lot of veterans on defense and stuff. So between injuries that happened throughout the season and between losing players kind of after about the 20-game mark, it was tough for them to really ever get back on track and ever find like a flow consistently. And I think Game 3 was a perfect example of that. They were up 4-1 going to the third period. Obviously, it looked like they were going to be able to move on to a Game 4, but Texas stormed back and had a couple goals in a row there towards the end of the game that made it 4-4. It went to double overtime, so give the Griffins a lot of credit for not just going away and fighting kind of to take them, an extra 30 minutes in that game. But at the end of the day, it was just Texas was just a better team. And I think the Griffins and the organization as a whole probably going to be putting a big focus on goaltending and defense this year because that was two of their biggest problems throughout the season. But overall, there were some positives. They got the two new players in their team, too, that were getting involved in the playoffs. So they have some exciting things to look forward to next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree, Andy. The start was a great start for the Griffins this season. And, you look and either fatigue set in, but like you said, with the shuffling of players back and forth, it's just hard to gel, right? It's hard to mesh with the same players all the time. And so when you guys got moving up and down, you can see that a little bit at the end of the season with some of the guys who arrived during that postseason run. But, positive, Griffins made the playoffs again, right? And we always kind of expect that. We're a little bit, spoiled in that respect with the Griffins always making the playoffs. And they've made a couple deep runs and to win the cup. And, for them, like you said, defense, it has to start with that and some solid goaltending for them to be able to get back on track and do what they did, the last couple of years.
Yeah, the one good thing is when you're young like that, you get a decent amount of players to come back the next season. Mm-hmm. So I believe with some of the experience they were able to gain, and even by making the playoffs and kind of suffering some of those tough losses early, and then a game where they felt like they had it and got away from them, that's the kind of stuff that sticks to you as a player. So I think they'll come out next year with the right head on, and I think some of them actually kind of need that mental reset right now of the season to end because it just kind of felt like a lot of these games were going this way for them. So sometimes you just need a break from it altogether. I feel like anybody feels like that with no matter what profession they have in life. Sometimes you just got to get away from it. So maybe that'll be the best thing for them.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I mean, it really kind of goes to show just sort of the additional pressures that are associated with these minor league teams because they are having to get these guys ready to go to that next level, and they could lose them in the middle of the season when they're building that momentum. I mean, kind of saw it there with the Griffins. Is that kind of where you guys saw this sort of turn to the end? I mean, how would you maybe say they could have combated that element to it?
I don't think there was much they could have done when it got to that point in the season. I mean, the Griffins had kind of been falling down the standings since pretty much the All-Star break. It was kind of like a steady glide to avoid being in the play-in game, which is like the 4 and 5 seed. So I felt like they were kind of surviving that the entire rest of the season. I think the players would all probably tell you that too, to be honest. It just they couldn't really find a way to get wins consistently. They were able to end the season on a better streak, but I think it just was a problem throughout the whole season when they didn't have the guys they had to start the year. Marco Kasper being the main one that obviously everybody knows his name now. Elmer Soderblom was taken away from them. That's another big player on their offense. They lost to kind of a lot of the flow. Their power play was never able to really get going the entire season, and defensively they weren't exactly the best defending it as well. So, yeah, those two things are things to clean up, and I think when you lose those kind of players that are important to your team. I mean, just imagine it like your job, you lose some of the most important people to your team. It's kind of how it feels to them, and it just is a regular thing at that level. So for Dan Watson, I think he did a good job with the cards that he was dealt with some of the young players as a head coach, but I'm sure he'll be ready to go again next year.
And I guess kind of that leads into the next question of where does this team go? What is the next step to get them maybe out of that first round, maybe get them into the second round, or maybe even get them more in contention for a Calder Cup victory?
I think it's just about consistency, right? Like being able to, have a good start, play well throughout the season. And like we talked about, the Red Wings are going to pick their players out. If they see guys in the Griffins who can help them, then they're going to plug them in. And if that doesn't work out, they're going to come back down. So they're going to try to find the right formula for success, with the Wings at the professional level, and then obviously with the Griffins. So I think just that consistency throughout will, help us next year.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think as an organization, you have to feel good about the young talent that's come up and played for the Red Wings. That is easily the biggest positive for them. When you got guys like Marco Kasper up there being as effective as he is, looking like a key piece of this organization going forward now, and Soderblom playing a key part this year. Albert Johansson was one of their better defenders this season, which is something that they need a lot of help with and probably are going to have to do something in free agency with, but that's another story. I think when it comes to what they did to have guys come up and be good for some of Steve Yzerman's draft picks, that's been the plus side of it. So I think down at the AHL level, the Griffins should be proud of what they're doing as an organization for their job. It's just that's kind of how it goes this level of sports. Winning isn't the priority in the AHL. It's the winning is the priority in the NHL. So unfortunately they haven't been able to get to that height yet and make the playoffs in the NHL, but a lot of those young guys are learning and getting better. So hopefully they're able to pair that with some veterans up there. I think you'll really be able to see what some of these young guys have been able to learn over the last few years. And I don't expect it to slow down with the leadership they have in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I feel like the season ending would feel a little bit better if maybe we were still cheering on the Red Wings in the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe next year. The Griffins actually just announced today the season opener for next year. It's going to be on October 17th. So, again, a couple months away for that, but we're looking forward to hockey returning here in Grand Rapids. But hockey is not over here in West Michigan, as the Muskegon Lumberjacks have a chance at hoisting the Clark Cup. We turn now over to Andy to talk a little bit more about that. You've been with the team so far.
I've been there for a few games in the playoffs, and it's been a lot of fun. They were able to sweep the 1 seed a couple series ago, and now they actually got their first win in the Clark Cup Finals in their franchise's history. So that was pretty cool. And they're doing it with David Deputy. He scored 2 more goals. He's got 7 so far in the postseason, so he's been able to play pretty well. They've had great goaltending throughout the playoffs so far. It's just been a lot of fun to watch. Their game 3 is at 7:00 at in Muskegon. It's where the old Jolly Roger Arena used to be. Now I think it's called Mercy Health or Trinity Health. I don't know the name of the arena for sure, but it's actually a pretty cool venue. They have a couple restaurants attached to it and stuff if people haven't been there. But, yeah, if they were able to sweep the series at home, Game 3 and Game 4, it's only a best of 5. They'll win their first Clark Cup ever in the history of the franchise. So, it's definitely something to play for, and it's pretty cool. And I think it's been a lot of fun to be a part of and see this team be able to get some wins, because I don't think people expected them to make it this far. So
right, yeah, no, and I think at that level, we were kind of talking before we got started here, just seeing how young these players are. I mean, that's got to add some additional fun to this whole thing, just seeing these young players and see how well they kind of are gelling and kind of getting ready again for those next levels up.
Yeah, it's crazy because some of these players are from other countries. They're not even from America. I mean, can you imagine, Dean, you have kids, can you imagine sending your kids across the country at that age, 17 years old, to go play hockey?
Any sport, really,
Yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, that, at least for me, if it was my kid. I don't have kids, but if I did, that would be crazy. So, I can't imagine what it's like for them to go over here and do that kind of stuff. So, for them, it does matter. It is important to them to win these games and to earn these titles, because you don't go over here just to play for nothing. I feel like any competitor, no matter how old you are, whatever level of sports, you want to win. So, it's awesome to see them getting it done. It's really cool for the community of Muskegon, because they do a great job of coming out and supporting them throughout the entire year. So it's been a lot of fun to watch so far, and I think it's going to be a packed arena for these games 3 and 4s.
Yeah, no, we're definitely looking forward to that, hoping that the Lumberjacks are able to pull it off, hoist that Clark Cup, and we're going to be keeping an eye on things. You'll be able to find full recaps over on our website, I'm sure. Let's move on now to the Diamond, the baseball Diamond. The Whitecaps continuing to sort of dominate at home. They had another big series win. Things are really gelling for them this year. I mean, we anticipated them to be one of the top minor league teams, and it's really kind of coming to what we expected to be this year.
Yeah, definitely. Like we talked about before the season started, on paper, this team was supposed to be really good. And so far they are. After last night's win, they're 10 games over 500 for the first time since 2022. And they're just playing really good baseball. They're Their pitching's been solid. They're getting timely hits, and kind of like the Tigers, we talk about Tigers a lot. A lot of guys are consistent, are doing their part to bring success to West Michigan right now. If you look at, they've had injuries with obviously McGonigal. Max Clark is one of the top players right now in the Midwest League. The Whitecaps are top 4 in pitching and top 3, I think, in batting. And so, they're putting it all together right now. And, they've only lost, 2 games at home the entire season. So they played really, really well at home. They're on the road again this week, but they're back at home next week. But no, I've been out there a few times to work, and obviously with my daughter last Saturday, over 7,000 people showed up to watch them beat Lansing. And right now they have a 3-game lead over Lansing and Fort Wayne in the Midwest League standings. So it's been a long time since the Whitecaps have made the playoffs, but I think this might be the year if they can earn that playoff berth in the first half. Then this is just going to help them. Obviously they're going to make the postseason, and that'd be great for everybody.
Yeah, they definitely have the talent to do it right now. I think you're starting to learn more of the names on offense. Jack Penny was able to hit a couple home runs that were big last week when they were home. Jose Brezenio has been pretty consistent, hitting in the middle of their lineup. He's one of their top prospects that people are paying attention to. Obviously, everybody knows the name Max Clark, but guys like Seth Stevenson too, Joey Peck. They've had some people that have been able to produce that I think people are actually starting to learn the names of now. I was able to get there over the weekend too on Sunday on Mother's Day, and it was packed. I mean, it's awesome to see the crowd like that. And that's kind of what leads me to the next thing is Max Clark. Obviously, right now he's hitting 306. He only has 2 home runs, but I think the Tigers organization as a whole is kind of more about the contact first and learn how to hit at this level first. And he's doing a good job of that because his OPS is 857. So he's got 21 RBIs. He's stolen 4 bases. Maybe they'd like to see that number increased a little bit more because he's supposed to cause a lot of mayhem on the base paths. But I think overall he's doing everything he's supposed to at this level. So, I mean, how long is he really going to be here, I think is the next question. What do you think, Dean?
I don't know. Like it talked about. I heard the start of the season. Obviously with Kevin McConaughey, they kind of both came up together last year. From low A. They both played there. They both made the move up, and I thought the timeline would be that they both kind of move up at the same time to the next level and kind of make their way to Detroit. Obviously, McGonigal sprained ankle, first game of the season. And he's been obviously on the shelf ever since then, so he hasn't been able to show what he's had to do. So I think right now, maybe they're looking for Max Clark to move up sooner. I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say 4th of July, let's say by July 1st, that he moves up and sees what he can do at the next level.
Yeah, no.
Obviously, we would want Max Clark to have a lot of success and help the Tigers because they're also having a good start to the season. But kind of on that same frame, we just finished talking about the Griffins kind of, having their talent leave their team in the middle of the season. I mean, do you think that might impact the Whitecaps, or do you think this is such a well-built team that even if Max Clark or some of these other top prospects do head out, they still have a good chance at least cracking into the postseason?
I think it would definitely affect the team. I think when you see guys like Max leave or Jose Brezenio, whenever they move up, definitely hurts in the middle. It takes me back to when Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson were in the lineup for these teams. It was Cody Clemens, I remember, was around when Spencer was there. These guys were big players for the team, and they were popping off every night, and everybody was loving to go to the ballpark. When they leave, it does take some of the air out of the balloon. I think that's the biggest challenge for the management and the staff is to be able to find a way to keep them on the winning track. Because obviously, right, you get yourself a big lead like that, and then if you lose some players, that you can kind of watch it dwindle, and it's hard to get out of that mental space, especially as a young player. You could be having a great season, but when you start losing, it still can affect your personal game too. So that's the biggest challenge that they'll have for Tony Capicelli and some of the other managers and that staff. But yeah, no, I think it will be tough. The one good thing for, I guess, the Whitecaps and fans of West Michigan, if you're a fan of the Tigers, maybe not because you wanted to see him move up quicker, but Kevin McGonigal being injured and probably not moving up as quick as Max Clark will, at least he'll be somebody that they can look forward to coming back and being probably a big presence in the middle of this lineup with his bat and being solid up the middle at one of the most important positions on the field at shortstop. So they do have somebody that's going to be coming back from injury that should be able to help them. It'll be interesting to see how they're able to, kind of weather the storm this entire season.
Yeah, and on that point, Andy, I really think they'll probably wait to the end of the first half, right?
Yeah.
They're going to hopefully clinch that playoff berth, and then maybe you'll see some guys go up and kind of some shuffling back and forth. But yeah, I think the most important thing right now, the major factor is to get that playoff berth, because it's been, I think, 6, 7, 8 years potentially since they've been in the playoffs. And so I think
they've been so close too.
Yeah, so close the last few years. So that's the number one goal right now. And then, then we can get rid of some players potentially and see what they can do. But like you said, yeah, McGonigal is probably going to stay here, throughout the season now with that injury.
I mean, not to segue us in myself to the next topic, but it really is when you see what's going on up at the big league level, it's like, will some of these guys move up as fast? Because there's kind of a
and they probably
blockage
won't.
in the pipeline right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much talent right now in the Tigers. I mean, they have all these guys that are like interchangeable. I mean, everybody talks about it, like who's going to get sent down for when Matt Vierling gets healthy in Parker Meadows. So,
Can you say that again real quick? There's so much talent in the Tigers
system.
I think, in the system. Okay, thank you.
there is. There's a lot
That's
of
what I
talent
thought
in
you
the
said.
system. That's for sure. The number one.
We haven't heard that in a while.
No doubt. Yeah, it's. I don't remember any time in my life that there was a number one farm system for Detroit. So Max is a great player. He is. I mean, if you had to have my guess, I think he will move up by June. Probably to go up to Erie, just because that's the way that it works. Sometimes if you're playing good enough, they want to get you up the pipeline as quick as possible.
See how you can do against a different level of pitching.
Exactly. I think he's definitely getting ready, or probably is already ready to hit at that level. But what's the rush right now? I mean, you got all this talent up there. So I mean, you look at their AAA lineup every night right now. It's like some of these guys have played for the Tigers for a significant amount of time. So I think
really good.
I think Max and Jose will definitely get their time to move up here in the near future. But maybe it is blocked a little bit because of that right now.
Yeah, I mean, kind of falling on Max Clark. Obviously I keep saying we want him to do well with the Tigers and help the team out. But what is sort of that expectation? Because like we keep saying, Tigers have a lot of talent. Is the expectation isn't going to be on him being a hero? I think about some of these other top prospects when they come to the majors, they're coming to bad teams, and these teams are expecting them to bring them out of mediocrity or kind of be that superstar for them. Is that the expectation for Max Clark, or is it sort of just do your job and get us all the help that we can get at wherever we put you on the field?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to play the outfield. I think that's. I don't know if he plays the other positions, but who knows? Right now, I think the organization definitely is directing him towards the outfield. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. If that's what you're asking me, is like more about where's he going to play when he gets there? How's he going to affect it? I think he's still at least a year away from making the major leagues. But that's the thing right now. If you really want to get deep into this, the guys have the Tigers have players like Tarek Skubal, who obviously is the best pitcher in baseball right now, right? He's going to want a lot of money, and I don't know if Detroit's going to offer him that much money. And they might have more players that are going to need more money, like Riley Green. If Torkelson is able to have a 35 home run season, if Javier Baez, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, keeps doing this, they might keep him around and not pay him off. So they're going to have money that they have to spend in other ways. I think the Tigers are going to kind of go for it right now, and that's what will make it really, really interesting to see if they do it this year's trade deadline. I think that'll matter a lot for a lot of these prospects. The Tigers have so much talent, and they don't really need their draft picks coming up in the future, but they still have a lot of them they can trade and a lot of prospects they can trade. It's going to be interesting to see what Detroit does at the deadline. I think that'll really tell you a lot of like how they're feeling about their prospects and talent coming up through the system, because if they really believe they can win the World Series this year, that could affect guys. Like, I'm not saying they're going to trade Max Clark. I don't think they will. I think that Scott Harris takes too much value in like his picks and the guys that he likes, but there's guys like Justin Henry and Malloy who have a lot of talent, who I think is going to get sent down when Matt Vierling or Parker Meadows comes back. That might be a guy they look to trade, or Jace Young. He really doesn't fit right now with where his bat's at when everybody else is kind of excelling quicker than him. Will they trade him with draft picks and other pieces at the deadline? I think that's all going to affect where Max Clark will end up in this organization, because if they trade some of those guys away, he may find himself in the team sooner. If they trade for guys that they're only going to have for 1 year on this team to try to help him win the World Series this season, that could also eventually make his pipeline a little quicker than Major League. So, it's definitely an interesting topic, but there's so many different directions they could go.
Yeah, he won't have to be that hero, right? Like you said, Phil. He won't have to come in to help a struggling franchise. They can kind of, bring him along slowly and see how he kind of adapts to each level that he goes. And we might not see Max Clark in Detroit for a couple of years because of all the young talent the Tigers have. If they had a bunch of veterans and had a terrible team like the Colorado Rockies, maybe Max would be starting.
That was the Tigers, though.
He might be starting next week. Yeah, right. Well, not that bad, but
not that bad.
Not as bad as they've been.
But I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Right. Max is in Colorado. You might be playing there next week. So,
what was it, like 2000? I think it was like 18 or 19 or whatever year that was. They pushed for the record.
Right. Yeah.
So they were not far away from it, like in this 10-year span of before we're getting what we're getting right now.
Yep.
And the Tigers are truly a diamond in the rough. You don't see teams that are winning like they're winning with the amount of money they're spending on their lineup every night.
Payroll.
It's somebody different every night. And it's insane. Zach McKinstry, my friend from CMU, he's one of the best hitters in the major leagues for average and OPS right now. I love the guy, but that's not anything that anybody would have thought coming into the year. I mean, he's probably amazed with some of the stuff he's putting up. So,
Right.
yeah, it's just it's crazy to watch right now.
Yeah, well, let's switch over now to the Tigers because they right now still have the best record in the American League and are now tied with the Mets with the best winning percentage in all of Major League Baseball. I keep feeling like each week we talk about the Tigers that they won up what we thought that they were going to be this year, and it just keeps improving. I mean, does this still surprise you guys at all, or is it kind of getting a little bit more used to the Tigers being this good?
I'm getting used to it, and like, I think a big important factor with the Tigers is they might lose a couple of games, right? Mm-hmm. But they're playing well enough to not have those extended losing streaks, right? They're not falling into the droughts. They lost two at home against Texas, but then look, they bounce right back and they play really well the last couple of nights against Boston and get a couple of big wins. Obviously, Javi with the big 3-run homer walk-off last night. But that's what good teams do, right? They don't kind of meander and let losing streaks kind of happen because of the talent that they have, right? Someone's going to step up and not let that happen. And that's why it's important to keep winning series, right? Like, keep winning those series. If you win 2 out of 3, that's fine. You lose 1, no big deal. Okay, you kind of move on and continue playing well. So I'm not surprised right now. Tigers are being talked about a lot on the national scope right now because of how well they're playing, because of how young they're playing. They're talking about Javi, they're talking about Spencer Torkelson, they're talking about Riley Green, they're talking about all these different players, and it as us three, and especially Andy and I, who grown up watching, loving the Tigers, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think you kind of said it. That's just the way that they are. They don't get stuck on these losing streaks, and it's really impressive what AJ Hinch has been able to do. If he's not the manager of the year, this has to keep up, obviously.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to keep up this pace. They're going to hit a lull. They're going to lose some games. I hate to tell people that out there, but there's 162 of them. They're not going to play this well the entire season, but I do expect them to be. I mean, usually the 40-game mark is like where teams end up at the end of the season. The Tigers are, 12, 13 games above 500 right now?
13.
And they're in first place in their division. I can't believe Cleveland's keeping up as well with them as they are only 3 games back. It's pretty crazy. But last night, I was able to stay up and watch that game. I watched it all the way through. Javi Baez is a guy that I completely gave up on. Like, I was 100% out on him. I think almost everybody else was. A lot of people were saying pay him off towards the end of the season. Mm-hmm. This is just what the Tigers have been this season. Like, Casey Mize is a guy who was, dealing with all these injuries. Obviously, he's got the hamstring thing going on right now, so he's on the IL. But he's been able to pitch for them and be great. Everybody thought he was going to be a 5th starter. He's basically been the number 2 or 3 in that rotation. Spencer Torkelson, nobody talked about him coming into the season. He's got 11 home runs right now. He had another key one last night. Now it's Javi Baez, out of nowhere. I mean, this guy's been basically dead to baseball for the last 6, 7 years now. Even when he got traded to the Mets, he just had that one half of the season where he was good before he's doing his antics to the fans that I can't do on camera. So, there's just a bunch of stuff with him, and he kind of fell off completely, and he just looked like, he's getting towards 31, had that hip surgery, and no one really knew what was going to happen when he came back, and you can't just tell me it's only health. Mm-hmm. Definitely helps that he's healthy. I don't think he'd be playing center he's playing center field. These are the kind of things that you just can't make up, and when you watch something like last night, it really just speaks to how special it is with this team right now, because it was truly incredible. To watch him at the first one, it was already unbelievable. The second one, it was, the catcher's reaction for Boston is priceless. When he just kind of walked away, and the pitcher just kind of looks back like, you got to be kidding me. I can't believe I did that. Wow. It's somebody different every night for this team, and AJ has them all believing that. The fact that he was able to get a guy like Javier Baez, who has seen the heights of being a MVP of a playoff series. He's won a World Series. He's been one of the more elite talents in the field at any position in this game. And he's able to get him to buy in and believe he can play whatever position, go back to center field, something he hasn't played since high school. It's the minor leagues. It's awesome. It's awesome to see, and that's kind of what AJ's instilled, and Baez was just the newest example of that last night.
Mm-hmm. How big of a boost is it if Javi Baez, say he, maybe he doesn't get back to his total former glory, but if he starts hitting like how he did last night and continues kind of just building up that confidence, what is the limit, I guess, on this team, just how the roster has been constructed?
I think Javi's going to level out at some point, right? But this is number one why the Tigers paid him all this money, right?
Yeah.
A few years ago, to get this Javi Baez, and obviously he's more patient at the plate. He's kind of tweaks the little things. He's a very reserved guy, so I think he just went about his business. But like Andy said, people kind of wrote him off. And, he's come back with a vengeance. And, it's going to be tough decisions, right? When all these other guys get healthy, we kind of talked about that, like who you're going to put in the lineup, who's going to be the everyday guys in the lineup. But, the luxury of the Tigers is you can plug in anybody right now, and they're going to hit, they're going to do well. And, not a lot of teams right now in the major leagues have that.
No, if you're going to tell me that he was going to hit 319, which I'm going to still be that guy, he's not going to hit that all season. He still swings those sliders. The difference is he's making contact. And I think I went back to this in the last podcast. The Tigers, Scott Harris signed Gleyber Torres in the offseason, who is a friend of Javier Baez, and I think he's a great hitter. Gleyber Torres, I think, hasn't got enough credit for how big he's been as a part of this lineup and how good of a signing that's been. I think that he maybe taught him to hit for contact again, or gave him tips, or kind of tried to push him in the right direction. You can't be the player you used to be maybe right away. You're going to have to find it from the ground up and work your way back to being who you are. The home runs are coming natural now because he's been able to lay off some of those sliders outside. He's been able to swing shorter and make contact with some of those sliders outside, even when because he's always been one of the best bad ball hitters. That's what he made a living off of. And he's able to make contact and put the ball in play again. I think that now you're seeing pitchers miss like they did last night, where they have to throw it in the zone because they're like, well, I can't just walk him or put him on, and he's going to make you pay. And that's that vintage Javi swing. Like both times you saw it last night when he was able to hit it out of the park and he's able to do his thing. That is what he used to look like in 2016 when he was winning a World Series for the Cubs. And you're talking. I just said it. 2016 and 2025. Yeah, that's a lot of years down the road. I don't know if he's going to be able to be that player for them all the way through the entire season, but in 870 OPS, 27 RBIs, he's hit it in the 9 slot most days. It's remarkable what he's been able to do, and I think no matter what, he's going to be able to be a key piece for this team moving forward, whether he's an everyday player, whether he goes through some blows and he's able to give somebody a blow in center field. Maybe he'll end up being the everyday third baseman because they still don't really have that figured out yet. Actually, I heard an interview this morning with A.J. Hinch on the 97 Won the Ticket in Detroit. He mentioned how, he said, they asked him about Matt Vierling when he comes back. He said, I don't know. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. He said, if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have put him in center field and penciled him in there because we don't have a center fielder right now. Javi Baez has 4 defensive runs saved so far in the season since he's been in center field, over 20 games. And then they were asking if they should move him up in the lineup. No, he said no. Are you going to change that right now, Dean?
No.
You can't move him, right? You can't touch it.
Hitting's contagious, right?
Yeah.
And so, I know you're going to buy that Javier Baez jersey.
Not me, that's for sure.
As much as you're loving him, and I love him too, but yeah. Andy's going out to buy one right after this.
I'm definitely not doing that. I'm just you can't
ignore what
I
he's
respect
doing.
this guy, man. I've been in that locker room a few times, and I remember I covered the opening day, his first game for Detroit, when he hit that walk-off home run, or ended up being a home run. It looked like it was went off the wall. Player looked like he caught it, didn't catch it, ended up getting the game-winning RBI. And I just remember his conference after he said it was going to be hard to be good. I thought about it a lot today. He said it isn't going to be easy for us in Detroit. That kind of just feels like how it's been for him the whole 3 years he's been here. He's just been progressively getting worse, and then all of a sudden he comes back healthy and has the season he's having right now. And I don't think anybody deserves to say sorry for 3 years of what he was, but I think you could definitely, if you go to Comerica Park and you're a fan and he comes up to bat right now, I think you cheer for him. I think the boos stop. I think all that goes away because this guy answered every question when he was bad. And he never. Everybody said throughout the last 3 years that he's been a great teammate. I think that deserves a lot of credit, and it's awesome to see for Javi as a person this turning out the way that's turning out for him right now.
Yeah, I personally don't know how long he's going to keep this hot streak up, but we'll take it as ever long as he's hitting like that. We did talk about the Tigers and just kind of the standings in baseball right now. Again, they're 13 games over 500. They've got a 3-game lead over Cleveland. Kind of dampers the fun a little bit, honestly, when you think about the Tigers having this great start to the year and then the Guardians are only a few games back. Is there a team in the American League specifically that kind of worries you guys, or is it Cleveland? Is it maybe like the Yankees or potentially some other team out west?
I don't know. I'm not really scared of anybody right now, right?
Yeah.
Like Cleveland, obviously, there was a heartbreaker last year as we lose to them. They're playing well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kansas City has been playing pretty well
no, they're playing
lately,
good.
right?
Lost
They
in a
won-
walk-off last night, but they've been
Yeah,
winning.
they
They're
won-
7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah, so I was going to say they had a nice little winning streak. So, some of these teams in their division are slowly starting to play well, other than the White Sox, obviously. But, obviously New York's the team everybody looks at, right? Like New York, obviously the big bats and, the home runs and everything like that. But Tigers already proved they could beat them. So, long way to go. But to me right now, Tigers one of the best teams, obviously, in the majors. And so there's no teams that right now that, to me, like the Tigers can't compete with.
Yeah, if you going back to last year, if you don't think what the Tigers is doing right now is real, then I guess you're just in denial because it is definitely real. I guess what you really have to hope if you're a Tigers fan is going into the playoffs. I'm going to assume they make it at this point, even this early. I'm going to call that shot. I think they make the playoffs. You have to hope.
Six.
Yeah, you have to hope that what happened last year. You have to hope that doesn't or that helps. The playoff experience they got, the 2-1 lead they had in the LDS, they kind of let it slip away. The players that are going to be back on that roster, in the playoff roster, you got to kind of hope that eats of them and, pushes them in the right direction. Obviously, we kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, too. I think it'll really come down to what the Tigers do with the deadline. I don't know, what players they're going to need to add or who they're going to need to add. Obviously, some injuries are probably going to happen between now and then. But either way, it's just it's hard to imagine that they're not going to be the team holding the AL Central crown at the end of the season right now. I think I mentioned it already. Cleveland has that negative run differential, but somehow they're still only 3 games behind Detroit. If the books play how they're supposed to, I mean that wouldn't fall in the cards. So you would think that Detroit's the best team. I think that Kansas City will be a team that's kind of hanging around there too, but they only really have 2 big pieces in the middle of their lineup. Obviously, Bobby Witt might be the best player in Major League Baseball, but yeah, it's hard to imagine that with how complete Detroit is from their bullpen, which obviously a little bit of issues lately, but again, they're going to have lulls. I suggest to people not to freak out if they lose a couple games or don't pitch perfect in every single game.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen for anybody. So, yeah, I think they'll definitely be in the postseason. They're definitely a team to watch out for at the end of the season, no doubt about that.
Real quick, though, just because we still want to, kind of continue talking about the Tigers and the success, and again, kind of mentioning the talent out there. I mean, do you guys maybe have all-star predictions? I mean, I want to give a number. I think 2.5 or 3.5. I'll say that 3.5 all-stars on the Tigers roster. You bet in the over or the under on that?
3.5 is the current number right now.
No, that's the number I'm
that's
giving.
Phil.
I don't know. I don't know what the
Phil's throwing a
books
number
are
out there.
saying. I'm
Over
throwing a
under,
number out
3.5
there.
plus 120.
I would probably still say under on that.
Really? Okay.
I think Terry Skubal obviously is gonna be one again. Riley Green had a really slow start to the season. He's had a heck of a last 2.5 weeks. I think that's somebody you could look for to maybe get back. But their lineup really just, again, because they have so many guys going in and out, it's not really like a lineup that just has one guy that's consistently. The Yankees have all the names, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, it's just still Detroit. Dean talked about how they are getting mentioned now on national shows. That's what Detroit has to do to get mentioned on national shows. They have to play this well to get there. So it ends up coming down to being more of a fan vote kind of thing, and it's who do the fans want to see? That always seems to be who makes the games, and in Detroit, that's just not how it usually works, which is how they seem to like it. So I don't think it. I don't know if they'll get over 3.5. I do think that a couple make it, and I think with the way that Javier Baez is playing right now, if he can keep this up for another month, I can't imagine he doesn't make the All-Star
I knew you were
game.
going to say that. I have a sleeper, Will Vest.
Okay, yeah,
I think Will Vest is going to make the All-Star team.
Okay.
I mean, the Tigers' bullpen is so good.
A lot of the top closers in the major leagues right now are struggling. The guys who were really dominant last year are really, not getting guys out. And what's the guy pitcher from Cleveland, Andy?
Aroldis Chapman?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're just not doing what they did last year. I think Will Vest has been really good. So if you're going to go over 3.5, you're going to go Skubal, Javi, Riley Green potentially, and then Will Vest. So I'll take
Chapman pitches for Boston. That's
sorry,
it
yeah, it was. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, my
but-
mistake. The guy who Kerry Carpenter hit the home run off.
Yes,
last year.
thank you.
Yeah, that's
how we remember the
Yes,
these people.
exactly.
Yeah,
No,
he was with
it's-
Houston. He got traded to Cleveland.
Class
right?
A, Emmanuel
Class
Class
A. Class A.
that's
Thank
it,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. The name
So-
was blanking me.
Yeah, so those are the 4. If we're going to go with the over, those are the 4 I would pick.
All right, awesome. All right, let's get out of baseball now and talk about the LGPA Meyer Classic that is coming next month. You guys actually got the chance to go kind of do the opening press conference a
media
little
day.
bit as the media day for everything. How was that first off?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was great. Myself and Andy and Jack Doles, we had a chance to go to the press conference, and then we were able to golf with Tony Paul from the Detroit News.
They
Right?
needed us to test the course before
Yes,
they set
yes.
everything up.
You guys were the guinea pigs.
Yes,
Yeah, we
yes.
had to
And then we
play.
got a chance to golf with Bill Hobson from Michigan Golf Live on the back nine. So it was a beautiful day. It didn't rain. There were some good shots. There were some bad shots. That you could see them doing the construction of all the pavilions and all the grandstands and this and that as we were playing. So no, it was a great experience. It was fun.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And I think there's some key points that I kind of wrote about yesterday. They're hoping to raise $1.3 million this year for Simply Give. They were able to kind of hit that $1 million landmark last year and keep giving to the food pantries around the area. And I think it was also pretty telling that Brittany Lincecum, the pro that they had there yesterday, she kind of just talked about how much the players love it and they want to come back. And they're able to get a lot of the pros back from the past few years. And she has a host family that she stays with here, which she also said was different from a lot of other places they go, where it kind of feels like a lot of the members like sort of push them out of the course, or like they don't really want to give up a week for them because they pay for it. They say they feel very welcome. They come to Blythefield. So I guess if you're a part of Blythefield, that's something that you should definitely take pride in, that these players want to come back and play in this event. Lexi Thompson, she retired. She's going to be a part of this event again after she said last year that she was going to be done. So that's pretty cool to see that the players like that have been that big in the tour for that many years want to come back and play in this event. Just because they like it so much, like the way that they're treated so much around the course, and it's pretty cool. And also, I think the most important statistic, especially for Grand Rapids, just to be able to kind of brag about it a little bit, is they already said that they're exceeding last year's ticket sales in total, and we're still a month away from the tournament.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I mean the big takeaway I got from it was that Lexi Thompson was coming back.
Yeah, it's awesome.
She was part of that 3-hole playoff last year. So great to see. I mean, having a name like that back in the hometown tournament, I guess, for us here in Grand Rapids. I mean, that's going to go a long way as far as kind of generating that buzz and making it exciting for everybody that's out there to watch.
Yeah, when you get that close, I mean, Lilia Vu was the one who won the tournament last year, and people still respected it, definitely cheered for her and everything when she won, but you could tell when Lexi made her run on that day that people wanted to see her win it. I got to imagine as a competitor that's still in her mind right now. She's like, I got to go back one more time just to see if she can put together one of those weeks, and that's truly would be a really cool way for her to end her career. So maybe if she wins it, it'll be the last one. Who knows? But it's awesome that she's coming back in general.
Right. And kind of focusing on, kind of looking ahead a little bit for those that maybe have never been to the Meyer Classic. I mean, what would you tell them? What is sort of that environment like being down there? You guys were obviously down there when there weren't thousands of people there, but you guys have been there when it is crowded, when it is packed, when there is high intensity golf happening. From personal experience, what is that moment like?
I mean, for me, I've covered it the last 5-6 years now, and they've really been able to grow the crowd, which is so awesome. The last day, I mean, it's always been a decent one when you get to the grandstands, the end there on 18, but it truly is incredible how many more thousands of people show up to watch this event, and how many more dads you see their daughters coming out to this on Father's Day. The fathers getting free. So that's a really, really cool thing they do too, and it's really gotten more and more intense, and I'm sure the golfers love it as well. Like that's what you dream about when you get into professional sports, I'd imagine, is playing in front of all those people. The LPGA is truly one of those events where everybody comes out to support it, and it's pretty awesome to see how much it's grown. Dean, I think you were telling me yesterday, right? You went to some of the first ones?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's a family atmosphere. It really is. As you can see, from some of the highlights right now, like so many kids come out, so many young girls come out with aspirations to play golf at the professional level, and they get to watch some of these ladies who are out there, doing their best, and some of the top players in the world. And so, it's just amazing, I feel like, for families. And you have strollers out there, you have babies. I was telling Andy, I brought 2 of my 3 daughters, went out there with my grandma back in the day. We would walk the course. They would get autographs from Tiger Woods' niece and Lexi Thompson and, all the top players, and they'd sit there with their golf balls. And I remember one time, one of the players got done with a round, and my youngest, Addison, was kind of staying in there, and she took her glove and threw it to her and gave her a ball as well. So, I really feel like the LPGA, it's their favorite stop on the tour, one of their favorite stops on the tour, I think, because of, the community and the support that they receive, and they give back, right? And they're just as welcoming and endearing to the fans as well. So
There's been so much of a push for growing women's sports over the past few years, and I think the LPGA is one of the best examples of it in general, just because of what you just mentioned, Dean. Like all these players that I've interviewed over my 5-6 years of covering this event now, they always mention how important it is to them that they get to autograph the girls' stuff after the game, like show them how good it can be to be a part of the sport and really learn to play it at a young age. So they really care about that, and I think it's awesome because that helps grow the sport in general.
Mm-hmm. I think this tournament really exemplifies Grand Rapids also as sort of a community, has that big town flair a little bit, but also kind of feels like home for a lot of people. Yeah. So again, kind of that same sense with this tournament. Again, it is taking place from June 12th to the 15th this year over at Blythefield Country Club. Fun fact, the purse this year is $3 million for this tournament. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Those numbers have progressively grown a lot too. It's pretty crazy to see.
Definitely, absolutely. All right, well, Dean, Andy, thank you both so much for stopping by today, and we will see you guys again next week.